Welcome home, brave heroes. I'm Ash, this is HeroQuest, and it's time for another BWODECAST, the podcast-styled series focused on dungeon crawlers of all kinds. That's what I say, but every single episode just about has been about HeroQuest, and why not? Because there is plenty to talk about. There is plenty to talk about. There is a lot still going on. It seems like the momentum has really only just started, even though we're seeing a lot of finality, a lot of closures, a lot of little things pop up that answer so many questions. It really seems like Avalon Hill has it in the bag as far as making sure that we have longevity, we have lots to look forward to, and we have lots of questions, and we have a lot of community engagement, a lot of discussion, a lot of excited discussion looking forward to what is coming. And I say this because, as you already know, as you've already seen the pictures of them in the various communities surrounding HeroQuest, we have now, finally, the Prophecy of Telor and the Spirit Queen's Torment expansions, previously exclusive to the Mythic tier package. Now, I want to look at those two quest packs as they are presented on Hasbro Pulse. I want to talk about what all they come with, and this will still be a very much podcast-inspired style of video. There will be minimal graphics, but I do have my webcam turned on, so I'll be describing everything I'm looking at. You've seen the pictures already. We're just going to talk about card specifications, what it should have come with, what it could have come with, what it does come with, that sort of thing. And we'll talk a little bit about different bits of trivia here and there and contribute to the overall discussions going on. Man, they have a lot of pictures up just for Prophecy. I'm really glad about that. They really are presenting everything. So, as we know, Avalon Hill announced / released / whatever you want to call it at Spiel in Essen, Germany, which I don't know why we didn't get it at Gen Con. I would say perhaps there was a continuing logistical nightmare going on. Perhaps the timing of things just wasn't right. They just didn't have all of the OKs finally in place. Perhaps it was close to being revealed, but just wasn't there yet. And by the time Spiel rolled around, they were like, yeah, we are ready now. We have some awesome unboxings of the contents of the brand new quest packs, Prophecy of Telor and Spirit Queen's Torment. And there's a video out there, and you can watch the video. It is in German. However, YouTube will allow you to select subtitles and choose English if you do not speak German. So you will be able to enjoy the commentary in the video. And I'm not saying that the translation will work 100%. I don't know. I haven't actually seen the video myself yet. I just finished a long weekend of work, and I'm ready to really dig into these quest packs after seeing pictures of them in my Discord and in a couple of other Discords over the weekend. I'm really excited for both of these. I'm really happy that this is the route that they went, and I want to talk about why I'm happy over this being the route, because this is a way for them to have really answered a lot of different aspects as to what fans want. So Prophecy of Telor first. We're going to talk about Prophecy of Telor. Prophecy of Telor comes with my amazing darling halfling warlock. And just to completely explain that, she is a halfling. That much is confirmed in the design notes for her. I do find it interesting that if we look at this picture on Hasbro Pulse's page for the pre-sale or the pre-order page of Prophecy of Telor, we get an extreme close-up of the miniature for the Warlock, who was one of my favorite heroes. And it's interesting to me. This miniature seems to have a bit of a sheen on it. It seems to have a bit of glitter in the mixture. I don't know if it's just a trick of the lighting. The figurine itself, the actual miniature from the Mythic, is not that glossy. It does not have the capability to reflect such aberrations of the light. You could tell that's not what this is. This is actually in the material. This is a strange glitter-like material for the resin. Now, I wonder if anybody's pointed that out or noticed that. Very strange to have this as the preview image. You could see it, especially in the base, that it's not just a reflection of the area around her. So it'll be really interesting to see if that is the case, if this miniature somehow has the properties of this glitter. I don't think it will. I think that this is just in the picture that they're showing here, the preview, because if we look at the other pictures, that does look like the normal hero red, and I don't see any reason for them to stray from the normal hero red. I don't think that there's any reason for them to abandon any of the design principles of the original. Now, I say that, but there is a huge Haribo flavored elephant in the room, and we'll move into that in just a second. The Warlock comes with Prophecy of Telor, and that feels great. That feels just right. That feels super cool. I actually love that the Warlock comes with Prophecy. We also get 15 or 14 other miniatures for a total of 15. One of those 15 miniatures is the Mythic tier form of the Gargoyle. The Mythic tier package of HeroQuest came with not only the base game, but a ton of additional extra sculpts for each of the monsters from the base game. And to that end, there are a lot of what you would call Mythic tier sculpts. For the regular monsters, there's zombies holding up cleavers. There are mummies in the I'm gonna getcha pose instead of the classic I'm singing falsetto to a crowd of people in suits pose. The abominations are better. I'm sorry. I think the abomination pose is way better for the Mythic tier. That's not a flex. That's not to say, oh, I got the Mythic tier, I'm better than you guys who don't have it. I think that it was just a poor choice to have the abominations that they have in HeroQuest instead of the ones that come with the Mythic tier. Because the ones in Mythic tier are coming to get you. They are very imposing immediately. And the ones in the base game are just kind of like, I'm on my way to work. They're really wide swinging arms. They take up space that seems to be unneeded. And then we have my favorite undead sculpts out of all of them, which is the skeleton with sword and shield, the skeleton in the knight armor. I love that sculpt. I think that is such an awesome sculpt for your skeletons. And we also get some really interesting goblin sculpts as well, sort of shamanic looking goblins with claws attached and headdresses. They look really neat. They're really, really cool. The orcs are really cool here as well. But the gargoyle is of special note because the gargoyle is hero red, and it is, widely believed by default that is because this is the Warlock's demon form. So Avalon Hill have provided us with a Warlock, finally, to the masses, and they've provided her demon form. And the demon form kind of is relevant because demon form is an ability that the Warlock can use, and that changes the state of the Warlock. That changes the properties of the Warlock character while demon form is in play. And demon form sticks. It is perpetual. It is something that stays until a condition occurs to cause it to revert and you to lose it. So it's really helpful having that miniature that represents demon form. And this is one of the most clever ways I can think of to do it. This gargoyle is massive. It's very demonic looking. And we don't just get the red hero sculpt of the gargoyle. We also get an additional gargoyle in the same material that all of the other monsters are in. And to touch on that, I'm really happy that Avalon Hill kind of mathematically solved a problem that a lot of people were perceiving. The problem of people who backed the Mythic tier wanting some exclusivity to what they got versus those who were unable to back it unfairly because of the territory or timing and who just weren't able to get a hold of any of the the Mythic tier contents, wanting that accessibility, wanting those sculpts, wanting the flavor to add to their game. They've solved this by adding all of the, I can't say all, they're kind of split up in between these two expansions. So for Prophecy of Telor, not all, but they added about half of all of the exclusive Mythic tier variants of the monsters, which I called it. I called it. I was right. I'm going to pat myself on the back. Good job, Ash. You dialed that in. You dialed it in, man. Okay. I knew they were going to do it because it made sense. It just didn't make sense not to. But what I did not foresee was these miniatures are made in this strange new material. Let's see if we can get close up of just that. We have a close up of the back of the box that I'd love to stick to, but this is the kind of better context picture here. And yeah, definitely works out. Hey, in this picture, do we get the, yeah, we do. Okay. Okay, I say better context because it's not being put against like a green screen. They're miniatures that are sat on a surface and a picture being taken of them. That's much better than just like miniatures out there in the white void. So here are all the contents of Prophecy of Telor, by the way. The quest book or core campaign or expansion that was written by Stephen Baker. One of the OGs. If you don't want anything else to do with HeroQuest 2021, do yourself a favor and at least get Prophecy of Telor because of its association with Stephen Baker. But we have what the miniatures would, I suppose, look like if you had them sitting on your dining room table, you know, if your table's made of brick. But you can kind of see the properties of the material that they're made out of in this photo. It is a translucent orange, and it is supposed to represent, I don't want to give away anything in the quest book if you haven't played Prophecy of Telor, but there is, I will just say vaguely, there is a fire aspect, a sort of flame aspect property applied to some of the monsters. And for those monsters, you can now represent them with these miniatures. So even if you already have Prophecy of Telor as a Mythic tier backer, this quest pack has something for you. And as a Mythic tier backer, this quest pack definitely has something for me as more of a collector. I want these orange minis. I also kind of want the ability to be able to distinguish between regular monsters and special monsters of a given type. And this quest pack gives me the ability to do that with undead, orcs, abominations, goblins, the gargoyle, as if the gargoyle needed a special variant form to prove he's something different or special. And not only that, but a dread warrior. We get a Dread Warrior in one of the Mythic tier exclusive Dread Warrior poses, which is a really cool pose for the Dread Warrior. I really like this pose, by the way. So, all of that said, lots of cool miniatures, lots of cool things you can do with them. Somebody has complained, and I think that this is a valid point, that the miniatures do take away from the ability to follow one of the fundamental rules of HeroQuest, which is reuse a monster of the same color if you run out. Now, I will say, when that point was brought up, I looked through the Prophecy of Telor quest book, and there is no such circumstance in any of the quests where you will run out of monsters of the same color. I did see where if you just have the base game, and you're wanting everybody to be represented by green, this quest book would run you out of a given type of monster, but it wouldn't necessarily run you out of the color of monster. And this, we're talking something that's never going to happen. We're talking if every single door in the quest was open and every monster was present on the board. Your people aren't going to get that far without taking a few monsters out. It's just not going to happen. And if your argument is based on the principle that it could happen, I mean, just let's be reasonable here. It's not going to. You'd have to play it that way on purpose, like all 5 players in concert or both players, if you're playing one Zargon, one player controlling all heroes. You're not going to run into the situation where you have to swap out a green character for an orange character because there are too many green characters represented by the book and you just don't have enough miniatures. What is more likely to happen is if you are using all of the orange miniatures only, you'll run out very quickly because there's not a full complement of each type of monster here. But I think that they split up the sculpts this way for a reason. So I really think that there was every intention to make sure you were covered. So I really wouldn't worry about that particular limitation. We have the Warlock, my beloved Warlock, and we have the her demon form. So that was something that was answered. Something else that was answered is we have these interesting flame-colored dice. So we have yet another set of dice, this time with Prophecy of Telor, red or, flaming orange to match the flaming orange Haribo gummy monsters. I can't wait to do a bit with that. And just as an aside, I should have brought this up earlier. These miniatures and the miniatures that come with Spirit Queen's Torment are going to look a little different camera to camera because of the nature of how cameras interpret color and the translucent nature of the material that the miniatures are molded in, cast in themselves. So if you see a picture of them and they look extra green, and then you see another picture and they look a little bit blue or turquoise or something, just know that that's the camera's fault. So you might see different representations of them until you've opened the box for yourself. When I unbox these on my channel, I'm going to color grade the footage to make sure that they match as closely as possible to what they look like, because my camera will do the same thing. I'll point it at something green and it'll look a little bit blue because of the auto white balance correction, I think. There's just no really getting around that at the record stage. It's got to be an edit thing. So unless your camera is really good at color accuracy, which few of them are in every situation. A quick look at all of the cards that come with Prophecy of Telor. We, of course, have the Warlock's character card and her 3 Warlock spells. That's Dark Wings, Fear, and Demon Form. It looks like we have 4 spell scrolls. That's going to be Lightning Bolt, Heal Body, Rock Skin, and Water of Healing. 2 heal spells with this. That's great. 2 heal spell scrolls. We get a potion of battle, a potion of healing, a potion of lesser healing, a potion of magic, and a potion of restoration. And of course, the Warlock's equipment, the wand. So with a single expansion, we have the alternate sculpts from the Mythic tier. We get the Warlock hero, we get her demon form, we get a new set of dice, which people have been clamoring for. We get the Prophecy of Telor quest book released to the masses with all of its 13 original, previously Mythic tier exclusive quests. And we just get all of the items and scrolls that should have come with the Prophecy of Telor in the first place. The standalone expansion. A lot of the stuff came with the Mythic tier. So I think that about covers it for the Prophecy of Telor. Also, the box is this lovely foil sheen. It kind of is portrayed here on the Hasbro Pulse website, but to see it in person is another thing entirely. We got a little tease, like 2-second bit of footage kind of showing how the light reflects off the packaging from Chris Nato, and that was really cool to see. So we know that the Prophecy of Telor, as well as the companion expansion, Spirit Queen's Torment, will both have box covers that look just like that. Okay, we're moving on to the Spirit Queen's Torment. I think I've exhausted the topic of Prophecy of Telor and all of its flames and warlocks and orange Haribo glory. Spirit Queen's Torment is by Teos Abadia, and it was also an exclusive campaign to the Mythic tier. It, I believe, has 14 quests, one more than the Prophecy of Telor's 13 quest book. Yes, and it's going to have the same number of miniatures. There are 15 here. Instead of 2 hero miniatures, technically, we're just getting the one. This time, we're getting the Orc Bard. The Orc Bard miniature also seems to have that strange sheen on the preview here. And now I'm kind of wondering if that's really just because it's a 3D model. I don't know. It really looks like it's physical to me, but it's hard to say what's physical and what's 3D model whenever they show off prototypical images and videos like that without being able to see the environment around them and stuff. I don't think, again, that the material that the miniature is made out of is actually going to have that glisten, that sheen. I think it's going to be a standard red hero, and I'm going to be glad for that. But it's kind of present here as well. Spirit Queen's Torment is the home of the controversial orc bard hero. We have a lot of orcs in this campaign. I think a lot of people just choose to ignore, or they don't know any better, which totally makes sense. And it's okay if the orc is not your flavor. It's okay if a bard is not your flavor. These things are okay to talk about and say and all of that. Nobody's going to gatekeep that. But there's a lot of argument made against the orc being in any way friendly or helpful to the heroes, because orcs don't do that in HeroQuest. But there's literally an action in Spirit Queen's Torment that is added to the campaign for your use during the campaign play, and that is search for orc ally. And so we have this context where it's not just the bard represented here that's on the side of the heroes. There are characters, and I don't want to spoil anything or go into detail, but the context makes sense because of the campaign. It's not just a friendly orc bard comes out of nowhere and begins singing to you, hoping to seduce you all into his lustful... I don't know where I'm going with that bit. So let us examine the contents, and I want to get the white void picture out here. Here we go. We get the lovely quest book. I love this art. This is some of my favorite HeroQuest art. There is the Spirit Queen is beautiful. Niloth is so nicely portrayed and so nicely designed. She is really, really pretty. I think I said that already. I think I've already gone into that. Either that or it doesn't matter. It bears saying twice, 3 times. It's beautiful artwork. So moving on to the contents besides that. We get actually we can read on the back of the box all of the contents that come with this. Kind of abridged. The quest book, 15 finely detailed miniatures, 15 game cards, and 6 dice. That's right, folks. You get another 6 dice, which curiously are not in that picture. We have to kind of hunt for them. Oh, we don't get the same complement of pictures as we did with Prophecy. We have to look at the back of the box, the picture of the back of the box, to see the dice. These are, I'm going to call them underwater dice or submerged dice. They, of course, have, just like the Prophecy of Telor dice, they're just an alternate version of the hero standard white dice. They don't have different faces. They don't have different configurations of symbols, anything like that. They're just a different material. So it's just something to kind of say, we're using these dice. One thing a lot of people want to do is be able to give each hero their own set of dice. If you get the Spirit Queen's Torment and you get Prophecy of Telor, and you have the base game system, you'll have 3 sets of dice there. If you get the Frozen Horror, you'll have 4 sets of dice. And it's very important to note, even though in some photographs these dice seem like they're the same as the Frozen Horror dice, they are not. They are confirmed to be different color, different material. They will look different on your table, distinct from the Frozen Horror. They'll probably have more of this turquoise Spirit Queen's Torment green applied to them than the blue coldness of the Frozen Horror. So that's something to keep in mind. Also, the monsters here are thematic. We do have spirit monsters, spectral monsters. This is a thing before the specter enemy type appeared, or the Dread Wraith in Rise of the Dread Moon. But we also have submerged monsters. We have, without giving anything away, we have a reason to use this particular set of monsters as well. And what I said before applies here too. You've got enough monsters in the game system to substitute one of the same color if you find yourself in a quest that uses too many of one, but that's only if you manage to somehow open the doors and not defeat the monsters, which if you're doing that, you know, as Zargon, it's your duty and responsibility and privilege to crush your heroes with all of the forces in order to teach them to work together. So again, not buying that particular argument, even though I do think it's a valid point in homebrew quests where you're going to need a lot of monsters. That point sticks anyway, like even if these expansions didn't exist. So this does come with the Orc Bard. It doesn't come with a second form or anything like that, which means we have one more enemy. And the enemy in this one is the female version of the Dread Sorcerer, which came with, again, the Mythic tier. So now we have another nice sculpt. This is one of the more unique ones. We only got like one. So this was, I'm not going to say highly sought after, but something that was just a point of contention because it was special and people who bought the game system didn't have access to it. Now you do. So this will represent very well Naloth or the Spirit Queen, or actually there's a few characters it could represent, but I'm not going to go into detail there. A few characters that are represented by Dread Warriors and other characters as one-offs otherwise. Really good job on this. We get yet another color of monster, and so if you get this, you're going to have 3. If you get this and you get Prophecy, you're going to get 3 total variations of almost every single monster there is. You're going to have an orange goblin, a turquoise goblin, and a regular green goblin. You're going to have 3 versions of Dread Warriors. You're going to have 3 versions of Abominations, 3 versions of each of the 3 types of undead: mummy, zombie, skeleton. You're going to have 3 variations of orc. What could be better? I mean, you've got all game system monsters here. And this is a campaign that plays off of the game system instead of introducing its own set of enemies, its own unique loadout of monsters that have their own unique stats and everything. It is absolutely playing off of just the game system. Now, I will say there are miniatures here and in Prophecy of Telor that would work absolutely fantastic as miniatures for the game system, as well as for Keller's Keep and Return of the Witchlord. We've got some enemies here that could represent very well monsters that you come across in those expansions. This female Dread Sorcerer could represent Cassandria, for example, in Return of the Witchlord, and do a fantastic job of it. So this, to me, this is a must-have. There's just a lot here that adds value to your game system, if you so choose, as well as being just a great way to represent this expansion on its own. I talked about the dice and the miniatures. Just to go over the cards really quick, we are getting, of course, the equipment for the Bard, the Rapier. We're getting the artifact cards, the Bard's character card, of course, and we are getting the Bard spells, including Inspiring Tale and Lullaby, spell scrolls, and yet more potions. Something that somebody has asked. We'll go over the questions now. There's a few questions people have asked. One of the questions was, where's the druid? And another naturally occurring question found in the wild of expansion release is, where is the Crypt of Perpetual Darkness? I've talked about the Crypt of Perpetual Darkness. It's not here. It's not here. And the druid is nowhere to be seen. We know the Crypt of Perpetual Darkness, or at least some of us know the Crypt of Perpetual Darkness is something that could come along, but by default, it's not something that you should 100% guarantee to be expected. It'll be great if it comes out. It'll be absolutely fantastic, especially if they go ahead and package the druid with it. It could be right around the corner for all we know. But these expansions were leaked by the Redditor, Lord Drucifer, when they visited their local game store and found out that there were these 2 expansions and the Path of the Wandering Monk and Against the Ogre Horde all coming out at some point in the future because they were listed on distributor websites. And I know that's not the most accurate or the most, how should I put it, the most valid way, it could always be placeholder data, I suppose, but I don't think that's ever going to be the quest. I don't think that's ever going to be the case for HeroQuest. I think that anytime we see a leak like that, it is absolutely legitimate, and it's not something that anybody's going to admit on the Avalon Hill side. I don't think we'll ever see like confirmation before any announcement, because that's just not how they operate. So the next time somebody goes to their local game store and they find out that Crypt of Perpetual Darkness and Sinister Sorcerers and the Hammer of Hadraka are coming in the near future, you go to Avalon Hill's Discord and you start talking about it, they're not going to say anything. They're not going to stop you from talking about it, everybody's encouraged to speculate and talk about this stuff and show the leaks and share them and whatever, but they will not confirm or deny anything. It's almost as if the conversation's not even happening. And to be perfectly honest with you, that's probably how I would treat it as well. Exactly the same way. And I'm going to go ahead and rest this on this beautiful box art because I'm in love with this character. But what's that say about me? Don't tell the Warlock. I usually don't go for an updo, but for like ethereal spectral hair, I'll make an exception. But I think anytime anybody goes and they find that sort of information at their distributor or their game store, that's going to be a legitimate take on what's coming. I think that's going to be almost a dead giveaway, 100%. I don't think we're ever going to see red herrings or administrative errors, clerical errors, anything like that. I think it's just the confirmation in and of itself to me that those things are going to appear, that they're going to happen. So that's pretty amazing that we were able to see these, and especially like right now, like what a surprise before the holidays. Crypt of Perpetual Darkness was nowhere to be seen in that leak, so we're not going to get it, at least not now. And I know that it's not a guarantee that we will ever get it. I think that at some point, enough of us are going to make the case for it, that it may move things and set some things in motion so that we do convince the people that we need to convince to sign off on it so that we can get it. And just to stay vague on that, that's something that I really do hope for. And if you're watching this person, first of all, you were great in True Blood, but also I would love if this were accessible. We all want accessibility, and we all want in the gaming world to stand for accessibility. I know there's people who backed the HasLab campaign and the Mythic tier, and they said, but my exclusives. I'm not on that side of the spectrum. I understand it, and I agree with it to some extent, but timed exclusivity is absolutely a thing. It's been literally years. Let's open the floodgates. I've been saying that for forever. Let's open the floodgates. The floodgates are being opened. They are almost all the way open. That's one thing that I would like to see here as soon as possible. So please, people who can make that happen, please make that happen, because you need to watch the success of these and the fan reactions and the sort of buzz that gets generated because of these two. And if you think that there's no chance that it's going to happen to release Crypt of Perpetual Darkness based on whatever results these are giving, then take into account feedback made about these two expansions and mathematically find that solution that brings the Crypt of Perpetual Darkness to us. I know that the only exclusive things in the Mythic tier, I pointed this out when I was talking about the Mythic tier for the very first time, or one of the very first times I ever made a video about it, that we only had the language of exclusivity applied to 3 of the miniatures. So anybody who believed otherwise was never told that anything they were getting was going to remain exclusive. So, I mean, in my mind, legally, pedantically, whatever other word you can shove here, Illy, they don't have anything to complain about. But I do think that the majority of people who back the Mythic tier anyway don't care. They also want this stuff to be available for all. I really think that that's the case, based on just the feedback I've had on my channel in the comments and in the communities that I've been a part of. Whenever I can get time to be a part of them, that seems to be the general consensus. And you might have one outlier who says, I mean, I want my Mythic tier stuff, but they usually pretty soon realize they're not really in a crowd of people that agree with that. And that's not to say that they get censored or shut up or anything like that. They just don't really make the case. They're just like, yeah, well, this may hurt people's trust to back another campaign. They never say, this hurts my trust to back another campaign. They never say, I am not going to back another campaign because I don't like the fact that my stuff was made retail when I thought it should be exclusive. They're always making the case arbitrarily. So that leads me to believe, I just dropped my second monitor, which is a tablet. That leads me to believe that they don't actually feel what they're saying on a personal level. It's just well, playing devil's advocate. And I'm all about playing devil's advocate. So, I mean, I absolutely encourage looking at all sides of the equation to see where things could go wrong. But look at this expansion, people in suits. Look at the Prophecy of Telor and see how well they do, see how much fans love them. Go look at social media. Go look at the appreciation posts. Go join my Discord, the Amalgam Archive, which is always linked in the description below. Go join my Patreon while you're at it too, people in suits that have millions of dollars. Give me some money for no apparent reason. But yeah, absolutely think about how the effort would be justified to create that expansion and have it be its own standalone thing apart from the Mythic tier. Maybe we could do better with it. Perhaps we could have a more awesome Dragon Mini. A lot of you really loved the Dragon Mini that came with Crypt of Perpetual Darkness. I don't love it. Like, I'm totally fine using it. I don't hate it. But man, there's opportunity for improvement there. There's opportunity for something a little more dynamic. That looks like a column of stone. That looks like a statue of a dragon. It doesn't look like a living, breathing, threatening thing. When everything else in the world of HeroQuest is poised to attack you and murder you, and everybody's just aggressively stanced or heroically stanced, this dragon is like just trying to nap. And I think we could improve on it. But just for the sake of opening the floodgates, as I've said, make it available. Or maybe even poll your fans. I'm sure they have opinions they would like to share. I would love to see the Druid as well. If the crypt is not going to be planned or released anytime soon, I would love the Druid as soon as possible. So if they wanted to release the Druid with Against the Ogre Horde, I would understand. I would not criticize that decision whatsoever. Against the Ogre Horde is an expansion that was EU exclusive when it was back in ye olden times. And I think we're going to see additions made to it. I don't know what kind of additions. It's really hard to pinpoint based on any sort of precedent which things they would exactly pick and choose from to put into Against the Ogre Horde, or if it would be a big box or a small box, or if they would add quests to it. I hope that whatever changes they make would be additive ones, but it's just really hard to say what direction because they don't yet have an EU-styled HeroQuest campaign converted. And we're looking at that happening. We're looking at something that needs a conversion, or presumably would need a conversion, because people aren't going to be playing with the EU rules unless you are in the EU. And the reason that you bought the 2021 edition is so you didn't have to keep pulling out your old miniatures and stuff. And you want the accessibility to pull out the game system and play it with the classic EU rule set. And that, if you're doing that, let me know, because that sounds amazing. I would love to know that people are doing that. I'm sure somebody is out there somewhere, but I applaud that for sure. I would love to see people who are like, yeah, we bought the game and we just played the classic European style here in the UK. We're not playing it with the American rules. You Yanks. you could tell me. It's not gonna bother me any. Anyways. High praise from me. I think they solved a lot of fan asks with these two expansion releases. We do want the Druid. We do want Crypt of Perpetual Darkness. I don't think we're going to see those two things necessarily in the same package, but if we don't see a Druid with Against the Ogre Horde, and we don't see a Druid as a standalone announcement or tease, then I think it's very possible they're saving the Druid for a Crypt of Perpetual Darkness package. What else would they be saving for that package? Besides the tiles, what do you think would come with that expansion? And guys, one last note before I jump off of here. There were people asking about the alchemy system and how those cards could have been represented somehow in these packages. I don't think we're going to see the alchemy system supported in any other expansion, unless that expansion attempts also to introduce it as if it was the first time you come across it, because the expansions do not play off of one another. They play off the game system only. That is how it should be for maximum accessibility. It does mean that it's harder to supplement a given expansion's materials with more stuff. Later, you just kind of have to shoehorn it in. But if Avalon Hill wanted, for example, to bring the alchemy system to Against the Ogre Horde, they would do so in its entirety. They wouldn't say, oh, and here's some alchemy cards to go with your alchemy system mechanics that you have. People who didn't get Rise of the Dreadmoon would have no idea what they were talking about. People who got who didn't get Rise of the Dread Moon would not have the additional cards. They wouldn't be able to experience the alchemy system in its full glory. So whenever you are talking about having additional things for elements introduced in an expansion, it needs to be introduced again as if you've never heard of it before, because there are many players who might prefer to get Against the Ogre Horde as soon as they hear about it, and they've just acquired HeroQuest, or maybe they haven't even bought HeroQuest yet, or maybe they're brand new to this whole thing, and they aren't aware of any sort of implied order that the games have to be played in, or the campaigns. And of course, if they get an expansion that introduces a mechanic, that expansion should introduce the mechanic. It should explain it from the ground up. It should allocate that space in its quest book to give you the instructions you need to be able to properly utilize that mechanic. So that's just going to be a fact of the game system whenever we come across any of these sort of little extra mechanics introduced with expansions. That said, I don't know that we'll see it in any other expansion going forward. I love to use it though, and I would love to see it supplemented in some way. So that's for now on us as the home brewers, as the people who love to create things for our favorite game of all time. Guys, thank you very much for watching and listening. I really appreciate all of your awesome attention, and the channel's getting really close to being monetized. So again, thank you so much for all of the awesome support. I've said from the beginning, this channel is for you. It's not for me. So although I do get on a soapbox at times about my viewpoints and stuff, I'm really more interested in what you have to say. So let me know what you have to say in the comments below. Sound off. Join the Discord if you want to chat. I've got a few Discord members who have made the server very active and very friendly and very welcoming, and I really appreciate them. And I want to give a special thank you to Ribby J. Blackstone, aka Sergeant House, Yami Fira, Ward Icon. These folks are really active in the chat, and they're really awesome to interface with. Matt, aka Gravendall Games, is in there. My lovely wife Shar is in there. Lee Orlek is in there. These people are full of awesome ideas. They're awesome to bounce ideas off of if you're trying to work out different game mechanics for your own homebrew, or you just found a miniature and you're wondering how you can use it. You can post a picture of the miniature in the Discord and we'll jump all over that for you. Again, thank you very much, and I will see you in the next episode. Guys, have a fantastic rest of your day, and bye for now.